Yesterday we talked among the leaders of the European People's Party about the situation in Europe and in member states, about the pandemic and its consequences, and about how to confront the crisis. What I heard during our discussion from the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, President Klaus Iohannis, Chancellor Sebastian Kurz, from Prime Ministers Boyko Borisov, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, and Leo Varadkar, and also today in the morning from Chancellor Angela Merkel, allows us to be cautiously optimistic. Europe is motivated, member states are ready for enhanced cooperation, and everyone is equally aware of the gravity of the situation. During our meeting, we focused on the priorities in the time of the plague for our governments and the party, and discussed why the first days of the pandemic brought about so much disappointment and mutual grievances, and also what mistakes we needed to avoid today and tomorrow. We know that Europe needs fast, massive, and non-routine actions. We must unify standards and procedures of fighting against the virus, standardize statistical methods and testing, so that the choice of a strategy of combating the pandemic is not a result of a political whim, interest, or ignorance, and that it serves people's health and protects the lives of all Europeans. This is more or less the first question. To what extent can health and epidemic policy be an EU common policy where the institutions play a greater role and are more effective? The second question is the fastest possible agreement on a common action in the field of finances and economy. A protracted dispute on corona bonds may divide Europe even more than the migration crisis, because the crisis of trust is today very deep. We must break the north-south front. We should remember that everybody will need help, including the non-Eurozone countries. Without swift decisions and adequately huge money, we will put the Union at risk of a deep economic, but also of a political crisis. The third question is defending our Union and member states against aggressive and well-prepared Chinese and Russian propaganda. This is one of the reasons, apart from our mistakes, of a radical growth of negative anti-EU emotions, inter alia in Italy and Spain. Too many European politicians, also from our party, are repeating lies, accusations, and conspiracy theories produced in Moscow or Beijing. Criticism is by all means legitimate and justified, but retelling nonsense and fake news over and over again, as well as fueling nationalistic and anti-EU emotions, will lead us to political disaster. The fourth and last question is the condition of democracy in the context of the pandemic. Just like in the migration crisis, the pandemic favors isolationist, egoistic, nationalistic, and authoritarian moods. It is only an apparent paradox that today the Union is attacked for its insufficient actions by those who have long tried to paralyze it, weaken it, and divide it. Today the problem is not only of a political but also of a civilizational nature, which is the readiness to give up on freedom for a feeling of safety and security, a feeling or even an illusion. An argument which is being circulated is that democracy in its traditional meaning, together with the freedom of speech and the rule of law, is doing worse in the times of extraordinary crisis like migration or the pandemic than an authoritarian democracy. For some, it may sound very attractive, even though it has nothing to do with reality. The virus is subjective and attacks equally forcefully both dictatorships and democracies. But today, it is easier to persuade people to suspend democracies and give away all the power into the hands of one person or one party, because fear, so palpable in the time of the plague, pushes people in that direction. Don't let anyone ever tell you that Europe is coping with the pandemic worse than others. This is a lie. Don't let anyone tell us that others are more solidary than our union, because it's rubbish. But of course we must be more united than ever before. That is why mutual trust and mutual respect are so important. Ahead of us are difficult months and years, but in the fullness of time, light shall shine upon us again. Thank you.